sometimes the YouTube comment section is incredible and they come up with some really cool ideas. So today's deck list is inspired by both Diegolo, I don't think I said that right, and Evan Aldridge. Thank you both so much for the ideas, and this one's for you. Hey everybody, Nick from 9Card TCG, and today we're going to be looking at, I don't know if this is a good deck at all, but we're going to be looking at it. It is a Machamp VMAX deck, but it's a little bit turbo, and it's a little bit interesting. At the very least, it's interesting, and something that I am excited to try, or at least, think about or theory about. But anyway, before we get into the actual deck list, again, thank you very much for everyone who subscribe and comments and leaves their ideas, all that kind of stuff. I'm doing a lot of this today. Like, I'm trying to rush myself, and I don't really know why. Actually, I do know why, because it's almost dinner time and I'm hungry. But that's not the point. The point is, if you haven't already, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, leave a like and a comment. That kind of stuff tells YouTube this is a good channel and other people should watch it. And if you leave an interesting comment or like a cool deck idea, I very well may cover it. So, here we go. I guess we'll just hop over to Pokegear and take a look at this deck that I created, like 45 seconds ago. I guess now at this point, like almost 2 minutes ago, but yeah. Machamp V is a card that came with us in Astral Radiance, and it's a card that I love. I love Machamp. It's a great Pokemon, and this art in particular is just, oh god, it's so incredible. Revenge Buster, 50 damage for a fighting and a colorless. Nothing really special, but if any of your if any of your benched Pokemon have any damage counters on it, this attack does 50 more damage, and that's really cool. Now, it is weak to Psychic, and we have 220 health, so really anything Psychic is going to really easily KO us. However, we're going to talk about why that may not be such a big deal. Machamp VMAX is a big, beefy 330 health VMAX. Revenge Buster, again, same attack we saw on the V, but this time it does base 80, and if any of our bench Pokemon have any damage counters on it, it does an additional 140, which means we could theoretically be hitting very easily 220 on turn 2 with Machamp VMAX, not including the fact that a lot of Arceus lists are starting to cut Dunsparce. A lot of electric types are weak to fighting, and Palkia is very popular, so we might start to see those pop up a little bit more. There's some random dark types that are weak to fighting. Like, there's some stuff going around. Hisuian Zoroark is going to be releasing in about a month, and that's weak to fighting, so there may be a reason to play fighting. Now, we also have G-Max Chi Strike for 2 fighting, and the cost does 240. On our next turn, we can't use G-Max Chi Strike. What is very good is that we can use G-Max Chi Strike and then Revenge Buster the next turn. So it doesn't say this Pokemon can't attack, it's just we can't use G-Max Chi Strike. So something important to note. Why is Psychic types potentially not that big of a deal? Is because of Drapion V that's coming to us with Lost Origin. Wild Style, this Pokemon's attack costs 1 colorless less for each Rapid Strike, Fusion Strike, or Single Strike Pokemon they have in play. Mew is the most popular Psychic type deck, and following that, I guess, is maybe some type of like Mewtwo, whether it's Mewtwo V Union or Mewtwo V Star, I guess, but those are not particularly common. I think the last time I checked, they're like somewhere between like 2.5% to 4% of the meta. So Mew being 10% of the meta is important to play against, and they're going to have very easily 4, 5, 6 Fusion Strike Pokemon in play, which means this thing hits for free, and it does 190 damage. Now, this actually kind of pairs well with something like Machamp, because it says this attack does 60 damage to one of your Pokemon. Now, one of the cool things is that we have some bench Pokemon, which means we can use something like Drapion V to hit into something for 190 damage. If they are weak to Dark, we're hitting for 380, which is enormous, and it doesn't matter if that Mew has a Big Charm and Oricorio is in play, we're still going to take a one-shot on a Mew VMAX. Really, really nice. Then we put that 60 onto a bench Pokemon. We don't want to put it onto something like our Mew here, but we can put it onto Drapion, and then the following turn, if it gets knocked out, whatever, or we could put it onto something like Luminion, Gengar, Oranguru, and then the following turn, G-Max Revenge Buster is going to be doing that extra damage because now one of our Pokemon has damage counters on it. Another really cool way to get damage counters onto a Pokemon is with Gengar. Of course it does. Why would it show up? Gengar is also coming to us in Lost Origin, and it has the Creeping Back ability. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in your discard pile, you may put it onto your bench and put 3 damage counters on it. Really, really cool. Why do I like this? Well, we don't have to really do anything in order to get a Pokemon with damage counters, so Revenge Buster starts hitting really hard. All we have to do is research this away, Quick Ball, Ultra Ball this thing away, and then it just comes into play for free, and you put 3 damage counters on it, and now Revenge Buster's hitting pretty hard. So, how do we get all this going? You know, the original version I had of this did have a 2-2 Beaver line, but you can Mysterious Tail Mew, and kind of make this a little bit of a turbo deck. You get an Oranguru down, you start to cycle through things like Gutsy Pickaxes to draw cards, you can power up bench Machamps like this, and there we go. We have things like Energy Search, so we can find our fighting energies and then put them on top of the deck with something like Primate Wisdom so that we can use Gutsy Pickaxe to then accelerate it to a benched fighting type Pokemon. So really interesting combo right there, and there's something like Mysterious Tail Mew is going to help us find things like Ultra Balls and Evolution Incense to get the Gengars, put them into the discard pile and then Creeping Back. We don't need a lot of energies, 2 energies, which means if we go first, we can get a Machamp V, go ahead, put an energy, our opponent goes, they're probably not going to attack the next turn, so it's okay to have it in the active, and then the following turn we just kind of turbo through the deck as best as we can with Air Balloons. We have our Switch, we have a couple of Scoop Up Nets. We don't need that much to really get this thing going. We just need 2 energies and a Gengar in play, and then we're hitting for 240, or whatever it is, 220. Now we can bump that up with something like a Choice Belt, so now we're hitting 250, and then we can use something like Grant so that we're hitting 280, which means even on things like Palkias and Arceus V-Stars, if there's a Dunsparce, we can still take a one-shot. Granted, we're not taking a one-shot on an Arceus that has a big charm attached, so something to keep in mind, but you know, whatever. We also can, Rapid Strike Pokemon do affect the ability of Drapion here, so something to keep in mind is, of course, if your opponent has a bunch of Rapid Strike Sobbles in play, then Drapion will be hitting for less damage. So that's something you can easily Raihan to and then attach a Fighting Energy, attach whatever, and then hit 190. Choice Belt, you're hitting 220, which means you can knock out an Arceus V very, very easily, and honestly, as early as turn, well, they would have to knock something out for you to Raihan to it, but whatever, you know, you get the idea. We have Hisuian Heavy Ball so that if we do prize our Oranguru, we prize our Drapion, and we really need it, we can go ahead and get it from the prizes. And that's kind of the deck. The rest of the thing is pretty simple. We have several Boss's Orders because we want to be able to take advantage of V Pokemon. We want to be able to take advantage of things that Revenge Buster is going to knock out in one hit, something with 250 health or less, which are a lot of Vs, so our opponent benches a V, we can just bring it up and KO it. Something that this deck could benefit from is maybe like Echoing Horn to get that V Pokemon back into play, and then boss it up and take another 2 prizes. Very few things are going to hit you for 330, and between the Scoop Up Nets and stuff, we can kind of get these Mews off the bench, so really, all we might have in play is like a Gengar and then a Machamp VMAX, and we can have maybe something else on the bench like a second attacker. We don't necessarily need a ton of Pokemon in play, which is kind of why I like the Beaver line as well instead of the Mews, because then we have a 2-2 Beaver line, we have Beaver in play, we have Gengar in play, and we have a Machamp. If once they attack into our Machamp, then we can bench another Machamp, because then if they boss KO that, well, we still have our second Machamp ready to go. We can very easily force something like, in a 7 prize game here, we can go 2 Machamp, or even an 8 prize game, force them to go through like a Machamp VMAX, then a Machamp V or a Drapion, and then back to a Machamp VMAX and really force them to go through 330 health Pokemon. It might not be the hardest thing to do when we only have to get 2 energies onto this thing. And we do, have, like I said, have that Gutsy Pickaxe, Oranguru combo to power up a benched Machamp. We have a couple of Raihans in the deck so that if something does get knocked out, we can help power it up very, very quickly. And then we have Lumineon to help find something like a Research, a Raihan, something like that. Grant is very interesting. The reason I like Grant in this kind of deck is, one, it just gives you that extra oomph to take a big one hit if you might need it, but also because you can discard it early game. If you say you have it in your hand and you're like, oh, I don't want this Grant, you just go ahead and discard it, and then at any point during the game you can discard 2 cards from your hand that are not Grant to get this back from the discard, which means if we were playing the Bibero line, we can discard 2 cards, get Grant, play Grant, and now we just eliminated 2 free cards from our hand, so we can Bibero for even more. And then the fighting Pokemon's attacks do 30 more damage during this turn. So doesn't work with the Drapion, does work with the Machamps, of course, and that's kind of really why we have it. Do I think this deck is going to be incredible? No, I don't. Do I think it could be fun? Yes. Can this list be refined? Absolutely. Like every deck early profile that I show you, this is not the final version. I don't know what the final version is. I haven't played it. This is a starting point. This is just your template, and you say, okay, I like this idea, I don't like this, I'm gonna change it, I'm gonna take this out, or you actually go ahead and play and test it, and you say, okay, this needs a little bit more whatever it is. Maybe I don't need 11 outs to energy when I have Gutsy Pickaxe and Oranguru. Maybe I can get rid of an energy or something to find another Scoop Up Net or another Switch. I don't know what the exact counts of these are going to be, so don't take this as final. Take this as a starting point, somewhere to just get going playing this, or really any deck. But yeah, there we go. That's the deck. So there you have it, Machamp, or Turbo Machamp VMAX. Again, I want to give a special shout out to Diegolo and Evan Aldridge. Thank you both so much. I apologize if I mispronounced your name. I'm not good at that whatsoever, but thank you for the ideas and for chatting with me in the comments about Machamp VMAX. I really do appreciate it. Hope to see you and everyone else in the comment section, and let me know about what you think of this deck. Let me know what you want to see in the future. We're gonna do Giratina, I promise. It's just this came randomly and I really, really liked it, and I also love fighting types and Machamp, so I had to cover it. But I promise we're going to be doing Giratina very, very soon. But yeah, there we go. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, found this informative, and I will see you next time.